Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, May 21st. The great oil debate. No, I'm just kidding. No, I thought today's topic, we talk about the changing landscape of what's going on right now. And I also want to touch a little bit on some of the more uh, better questions or comments that were left that I couldn't, get through in just, replying to it. So stay tuned. So, welcome back. My name is Eric, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today's Tuesday. Available on podcast as well. So, the changing landscape that I'm seeing on my end, or on my side of the pond, as I call it, is just the changes in the past 10 years. In the past 10 years, parts have become cheaper from overseas, more expensive from aftermarket and OEM companies. We're seeing less equipment than we normally do. And when I say less equipment, it was been a gradual, but I mean, the past 4 years, I don't care. I'm not trying to blame anybody for the economy, but it's the economy, stupid. Is that when people are doing well, are doing okay, they have more disposable income. And the more disposable income you have, the more apt you are to hire someone to take care of what you feel as being meaningless jobs that you dread, and that is just simply doing a service on your vehicles, your lawn and garden equipment, your snowblower, upkeep. With the way it's been the past 4 years, is people are pulling back, and what they're doing is they're not. Most of the ones that I'm watching, they're not even doing a service, right? What they're doing is they're just, if they can get it to start and run, they just keep plowing away with it. And they've been doing that the past 4 years. And the only time I see them is when they can't get something started, right? And most often the case is it's lack of maintenance has got them to this point. And we talk about the other thing that I've been seeing more and more is the stuff that's coming out is disposable, is trash, basically. They've cheapened everything to drop the prices on it. And companies used to stand behind their stuff, right? And they wanted to build the best product that the customer loved, because if the customer loved their machine or their product, they would talk to other people and, tell them how great it was. Most of the lawn and garden, like your push mowers and your trimmers, they kind of gone along the wayside. And that is, the companies don't really care when it comes to those. And it's odd because, if you're living in the city and you're on a quarter acre, buying a riding lawnmower can be at times called asinine, right? You might be able to hop on it. By the time it warms up, you're done. So push mowers are more viable. And there for a while, they were doing a big, push on the push lawnmowers and trying to make them better and better. And the more eco-friendly they make them, the worse they started getting. Because as far as I'm concerned, the government put, so many restrictions on these manufacturers, to the point of even they had to make a decision. Do they continue making gas models or just switch over to battery and appease the government? Because that's who's pushing it, right? This is a capitalistic society, and that means supply and demand. It's the customer that dictates the product. And if the customer is buying green, then why not? But it depends upon what market you're in, right? Vehicles, the plug-in ones, the electric, and even a lot of the hybrids are still sitting on car lots because nobody wants to buy them. Just the cost to replace the batteries in one of them is probably as much as the car itself, new. Now, you can say you're going to save the planet by buying an electric car, but I'll tell you, the way I travel around, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't keep it plugged in that long. It'd be like my cell phone. When I get in for the night, I plug it in, and the minute I get up in the morning, I'd unplug it, and I would expect it to keep going all day long. So I can see where the weed trimmers and the push mowers are going to go towards battery quicker because people are tired of dealing with them, and if they can just pop a battery in it and go out and mow the yard, there's no gas to deal with, no oil changes, no nothing. It's just put the battery in and go. And you can buy, they've come a long ways. And I always said, if they can get the battery power up to where it's feasible, where it has a lasting impact, customers will buy it. If you can give them a good quality product, why not? Look at the advances in just my DeWalt 20 volt. I love the DeWalt 20 volt. And they're even making a lot of lawn and garden stuff now for their batteries. Now, I haven't heard much back on the riders, like the zero turns and stuff. They had one available here at Tractor Supply in our local area, and must have sold because I don't see it there. But they only had a short run time per battery, and you have to be careful when you're out buying this stuff because a lot of times the batteries are not included. They assume that you're running their full line and you got their batteries, so the way they have cheapened the price is they put it out there, weed trimmer, $229, and you think, wow, what a great deal, and you get it home and find out, where's the batteries? Well, if you read the box or the ad or what have you on eBay, Amazon, or online stores, it says batteries are not included. Now, like with my DeWalt, I've got 5 of the 20 volt batteries and I have 4 chargers. And if I were going to step out and buy a DeWalt or a weed whacker, a weed trimmer, or a push mower, it'd probably be a DeWalt. But I don't think my 20 volt DeWalt could run a push mower. It might a trimmer for a little while. Well, I don't think it would run a lawnmower. But that's what I mean when you get innovation. Elon Musk, he took Tesla's dream and he's done marvelous things. They're traveling with a spacecraft cheaper than NASA can do it. Well, of course it's cheaper than NASA. Anybody can be cheaper than the U.S. government, right? Because they just have so many bureaucrats on how to build the perfect rocket, and it never gets out of the planning stage, right? So if you got a good product and the advancements are there, longevity is there, price point is there, it's going to sell. But if all those aren't hitting the dot, then good chances are people will not accept it yet. until it's proven, right? I'm a skeptic. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing with all these old batteries and why a push mower only has a 15-minute life for a battery. And you hear, it's going to be the end of the small engine repair business, and to a certain extent. But if you're not evolving on a regular basis, then you're probably going to get left behind anyways. The battery operated, look, I heard all this when they come out with the electric, with the cords, the push mowers and stuff, and the trimmers. You could just plug them in. No gas, no oil, no servicing. And literally, they would melt themselves with people using them for too long. We had a lot of stuff that came to us. It was electric, and the power had just be a molten of plastic. So it's technology is starting to catch up where it makes it feasible. I don't think it's there yet. It may be there for like trimmers, but they've yet to prove that to me. Now, I don't think it's so much that it's the eco that's pushing it. It's we aren't producing men anymore. And when I say real young men love the smell of gasoline. I mean, we love the roar of the engine and, the power. And I don't see that much anymore. I mean, growing up, we used to have an old Bombardier Skidoo, and you could tell the guys that had run their Skidoos over the weekend because they reeked of gasoline. Because we used to have like a little squirt bottle. You just squirt it in the carburetor, turn the choke on, give it a couple pulls, it start up. But there was just a cover, like a plastic breather type thing over top of the carburetor. So you still got a lot of the exhaust and fumes. But we loved it. I mean, we beat that Skidoo to death. We went everywhere with it. And then when I graduated to cars, back then you could work on stuff. Now you can't. So you don't have young men working on their own vehicles. Back then, we'd pull an engine in a day. A bunch of us get together, grab a tripod stand or in someone's garage, yank the engine out, do a tear down on it and either rebuild it or run to the local scrap iron dealer that had the junk cars. And for a couple $100, he'd let you have the engine and he'd even pull it out for you. You don't see that anymore. I mean, I can't even come close to even looking at my vehicle other than to add windshield washer fluid and change the oil. And it takes a rocket scientist how to reset in the truck to show that you have changed your oil so that your truck isn't telling you constantly to change your oil, right? And you can't do anything because it's not carbureted anymore. It's all, EFI. And the bulk of the stuff that's under the hood is for emissions and to keep the vehicle running quiet. I mean, case in point, I know it's just New York, but we have so many more stringent laws on the books now. And one of them now is loudness of your motorcycle. Yes, loudness. Now, I can see if you cut the pipes, and I mean, when we were younger, we used to cut the exhaust and put on the short because we loved the rumble and the sound. The cherry pipes, I guess they were called. I'll have to come back to that. But the last 3 Harleys that I've had would make your ears ring if you revved it real loud. And I never had a problem getting them inspected. Nobody said anything about decimal levels or anything on it. It was Does the horn, lights, brakes, everything work the way they should? And the answer is yes. So I just bought this Suzuki Boulevard. It's a C50. I think it's an 850cc engine. Nice bike. But what the prior owner did was they took off the stock exhaust and they bought Cobras. Cobra makes a beautiful, it's not a cutoff with a hacksaw. It's a beautiful, and it's got baffles in it. But I took it up to get it inspected, and the guy said, sorry, I can't inspect that. I said, why is that? And he said, well, it's because it's not stock muffler. And I explained to him, I said, my last 3 Harleys would put this one to shame. This one is quieter than a mouse. He said, I'm not willing to be fined and lose my inspection license over inspecting your bike because it has aftermarket exhaust. And his exact words were, you're farther ahead to run it, and if you get stopped, pay the $150 fine, than to have him inspect it, get 3 miles down the road, because now our inspection stickers have mileage on it, right? And get pulled over, and it's up to the law enforcement's discretion of whether they deem it being allowed or not. And if they deem it being allowed, and they look at the inspection, and the guy up there 3 miles away had just done an inspection on the bike, he can be looking at $1,000 fine. Don't get me wrong, I totally understand where he's coming from, but there you go again, it's asinine. We don't have stuff for real men, for real young men anymore. Other than tattoos, people seem to be tattooing themselves from head to toe, but, that's not being a real man in my book. Because I can remember growing up with my grandparents, and we go to the fair every year. This is about having a tattoo, and she was dead set against any tattoos. Not even a little heart one on your ankle. Nope, nada. So we grew up with no tattoos, and she'd always point out the tattooed man or woman or both at the fair and say, see, what happens if you get a tattoo? You're going to work here. This is going to be your life. So for us guys, we had strict parents, grandparents being brought up, and we weren't allowed to have a tattoo. You had what they called a sleeve, and you could put it on your arm, pull it up, and it looked like you had real tattoos. The only tattoos I could get away with were the ones that you took and you wet and you stuck it on your arm, and they would wear off in a couple of days. No, we're just having fun here on a Tuesday morning, but I'm going to start wrapping things up. The other thing I want to touch base on is the responses with the oil debate over full synthetic and the standard oil. Everything nowadays is coming with full synthetic. And if you do the research, you'll find that Kohler still says, and a lot of your other engines still, or a lot of other engine manufacturers are saying, that they'd rather have the standard because it allows a better break-in of wear, because you're not going to get much wear on full synthetic, right? So they build the engines to where they start to wear a little bit, and they seat, and they function better. Does that mean you should run conventional for the first 50 hours and then switch over? I don't think so. I'd rather have too much lubrication than not enough. This day and age, the manufacturers of engines need to build them so that they're ready to roll right off the line. There's no break-in. Run full synthetic. And when it comes to, which oils to use, it's more, in my book, it's more about how well you maintain it than it is the oil that you use. Because there are so many different brands of oils out there, and then there's so many different grades, there's so many different blends. You can have your head spinning trying to keep up with it all. But if you have a good maintenance schedule on your vehicle, your lawn and garden stuff, it will last a long time. And we talked about how, like, lawnmowers, you know, I think we're already seeing that, not because of people having that much faith in full synthetic engine oil. It's more disposable income that they don't have extra, so they're just not doing any services on their equipment. And we're seeing them 4 and 5 years out. And I mean, when you can't hardly get a spark plug out because she's just been there since it was new, and comes rolling in with blades that have been on it since it was new, and no upkeep. It's just they run it until it gives them troubles, and then they call you. We had one yesterday that it's one of our regular customers for years, but about 3 years ago she quit coming. She quit calling, I should say, to pick up her mower. When her husband passed away, her husband always brought his stuff to us. And she called us yesterday and said, could you come over and look at my lawnmower? So I said, yeah, we can come over and take a look at it, Sue. So we went over to look at it. And the covers were off the deck. And there was a new belt around the pulleys. Because it was an electric PTO, you had the one belt from the front coming back to the top pulley. It was a double pulley. And then the bottom pulley was running through the deck system. And what had happened is she was out there. Rule 1, don't mow hayfields with a lawnmower. But she was out there trying to mow this hayfield. And she burned the belt up. Well, she got her brother to come over, and he tore the guards off, and he was convinced he knew what the belt was he needed. So he went and bought it, brought it back, put it on, and she can't get one of the blades to spin out. Well, the reason is because they bought the wrong belt. And also the tension spring had come unhooked. I said, why didn't you just give us a call this spring and have us go through it for you? We would have caught the belt. We would have caught a lot of this stuff. She said, because I can't afford it. I said, yeah, but with having your brother on it, you can't afford that either, because he's buying parts that aren't right. And now it's gone a full week, and your grass is even taller. You need to have your equipment have a good maintenance schedule. And I suggest with a riding lawnmower, if you do a lot of mowing, 3 times a season, take the pressure washer and clean off all that dirt and grit and grease off the engine so it can cool better. And when you do that, you can spot things that are going to give you headaches down the road. When you bring it into a service in our shop, it's more than just changing the oil, folks. It's front to back, greasing everything that needs to be greased, checking spindles, steering, rear ends, transaxles, hydrostatic transmissions, fluid levels. It's not just an oil change. So on that note, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Again, thanks so much for watching.